Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. The first thing you're going to notice is I've got twice as many holes in the top than I did 2 months ago, really trying to get that air circulation going. As long as we're looking at all the junk on top, let's quickly talk about the food I've used. Scrap cardboard, scrap paper, scraps from the garden, scraps from mowing the lawn, scraps from the dinner table, eggshells, and plenty of water. I'm trying to keep up with the video here, but now let's officially start this whole video. Let's do a little recap. On May 7th, I built this worm farm. Let's look at the structure I used. So I got questions like, did the rocks help on the bottom? Where will we find the worms? Toward the top or toward the bottom? There's no drainage on the bottom. Is it too wet on the bottom? I know I've got a couple worms alive in there because I've seen them in the past month. How many worms do I have? Okay, let's read off some worm facts. Worms can double in population every 60 days. Worms can eat half their weight in a day. Worms don't like it to be over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm breaking one of the rules. I've had this on my back porch, and New York is cold most of the year, but in the summer we actually do have some 80 and 90 degree days, and I'm really worried, was this too hot for the worms being on my back porch? A lot of you are saying, hey dummy, you should have put it in your cellar or like a dark corner of your garage. So what am I doing right now? I'm zeroing in on a baby worm. So yes, I'm really happy. We had some reproduction going on. Some worms survived and they had babies. So despite the heat, we definitely had a reproduction cycle go on in here. I didn't put any worms that size in here. The only thing I did, I had a couple big worms I found in the garden. I put some leftover worms from fishing in there. And now I'm finding some of the big original worms, baby worms, and some mid-sized worms, which maybe you could call them teenage worms. And the worms look like they have good color. They don't look like they're on their last breath. They look healthy. They're moving around, vibrant and healthy. So if you watch my channel a lot, you'll see that sometimes I have experiments that don't work, so it's nice to have a successful experiment. And like I said, as a kid, I never had a worm farm, so it's kind of fun to do this, and it'll be so convenient for fishing. I live so far out in the country that if I wanted to buy some worms for fishing, I'd have to get in a car and drive somewhere. But to actually go fishing, I only have to walk 50 yards to the creek. So having those convenient on-hand worms, I'm definitely going to use it next year and not have to do that pain in the butt car ride if I want worms. So one of my original questions is, where would the worms be? And we've seen worms on every level. It kind of surprised me that they're down here next to the water and the rocks, but maybe this was a cool place for them. And when you see that water, you've got the water that I dumped in, trying to keep things wet enough for the worms. And then when the worms process the soil and the scraps that we put in there, their excrement goes into that water. And that's what they call worm tea, which is supposed to be a really good nutrient for your garden. And every time I hear worm tea, I think that's such a funny expression, like it's something you can drink. In fact, somebody actually did go on Google and ask, can I drink worm tea? I made a little mistake here. I didn't want to stress out my worms. I wanted to get my worms out and see how many I had. So instead of just putting them on a bare tray, I sprinkled a little bit of soil on here, but now you can't see the worms. So trust me, there's a lot of worms in here. And of course, we're excited about the medium size and new baby worms. So we'll put everything back in the original container. We're going to give them a new home on the dark stairway to my cellar. like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We've got some good fishing videos coming up. I was out the first day of bass season and everybody was walking by me with buckets of minnows. So this is about the time of year we do our minnow videos, and a lot of great stuff coming up.